Hello guys, welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and this message, it comes from a translation of a message that I received. So the translation of that message, it reads like this. Hello Brother Nashi, I have my own story that I want you to share with the rest of the world. I am a man who is from Zim, but I have a small business. I am a small business owner right here in South Africa. When I came to South Africa, I didn't have anything. I then started staying in this other village. As I was staying in that village, what I used to do is that whenever it will be raining season, I used to go around the village while doing some peace jobs for other people. Then in that village, if there were any people that wanted to do their ceremonies and functions, I used to go out into the forest. Then I'll cut some firewood. Then I will resell the firewood to the people that were doing their functions. That is what I did. So with all the money that I was getting from all of those peace jobs, I then put the money aside. That is how I started to have my own small business. This small business that I was running, it was like a small spaza shop, in brackets, a small grocery shop. When I was running that small shop, then it happened that the village chief said that since there was too much violence that was going around, this was in the year when there was that violent clash between the foreign nationals and the local nationals. So there was too much violence that was going on. So the chief then summoned all the foreign nationals that were staying in his village, and he said that all the foreigners were supposed to come to his homesteads, and when they will come to his homestead, they should have their passports in hand so that our names could be written down, because he wanted to know how many foreign nationals he had in his village. When the village chief said that all of the foreign nationals were supposed to come to his homestead, then that was the beginning of my problems, because I didn't have any proper documentation. Then I moved out of the village and I went and I started staying in another location. Back in that village, when I left without a choice, I then had to sell off my business to this other man. But this man that I sold my spaza to, he was not a local, he was a Mozambican man, but I sold my spaza shop with all of its stock to him at quite a smaller price, since I had no choice. So me and that man became friends. When I started staying in that new location, I then saw that there was a lot of opportunities. With the money that I had in mind, with the money that I had, I then opened a new spaza shop. But after opening the spaza shop, still I wanted to open another small business. I then realized that there were a lot of people that used to do people's hair. Then the women, they used to have their small hair salons, but they would do it inside their homes. I then opened my own hair salon in that location. I then hired some women so that they can become the hairstylists in my salon, and I hired another guy who then became my barber. After that, I then opened a food container. This food container that I opened, it was for selling fresh chips and hot dogs. Unfortunately, on this other night, I was then robbed of my money, and my money was taken from me. But amongst the people who had robbed me, I noticed that there was a man who was from Zim, because I heard that the other ones that had robbed me, they had a South African accent, but the other guy, he had a thick Zim accent. So as time went on, I then heard the gossip that this was one of the guys who had robbed me, that Zim guy. And when I looked at him and the kind of a lifestyle that he was living a very good life. He had a lot of money, but the money that he was getting, it was because he was robbing a lot of people. And this thing, it really hurt me, because I had worked so hard to get to where I was. So I wanted revenge. I wanted to make sure that he was going to suffer. Well, I tried different kind of charms, but I couldn't get to bewitch this man that had robbed me of my money, until that man from Mozambique finally came to my rescue. and he told me that very soon he will be traveling back to Mozambique, to his country, and he said that if I wanted, he was going to make a plan for me when you would travel back to Mozambique. And upon coming back, he told me that he would come back with juju for me so that I can use that juju in my businesses. When he came back from Mozambique, he then gave me 2 bottles. One of the bottle that he gave me had the oil, which he told me that the oil had been taken from a python. Then there was another bottle that he also gave me, and he told me that the fat that was inside that bottle was taken from a place where 2 lions had been seen having intercourse. He then said that when 2 lions had finished having intercourse, there were some bodily fats that will fall to the ground. So that traditional healer had picked up those bodily fats that had fell from those 2 lions after they had finished having intercourse. After taking those bodily fats, he then mixed it with some charms. So that man then told me that I was supposed to perform these rituals, but I had to do it at night. I was told what to do, and at night when I was free, I had to strip myself naked. This was after my workers had knocked off, and this thing I had to do it whilst I was naked, standing in my shop, one after the other. So on that night when I had chosen that tonight was the night whereby I was supposed to perform these rituals, I then went to my small spaza shop and I stripped myself naked. Then I started rubbing the oil all over my body. So I did this before counting the money or even touching the money that had been submitted to me by my workers. After I was done rubbing the oil all over my body as I was standing naked in my spaza shop, I then went into that saloon and I then stripped myself naked and I started rubbing that same oil that was mixed with charms. Then I went to the food container and I did as I had done when I was standing in the saloon and in my spaza shop. But Brother Nashi, since I did all of these rituals, I can say that since 2009, soon after I had performed these rituals, that was when one of my child that I had left back home in Zim died. And since I did all of these rituals, I then lost all my children, because what happened when I came here to South Africa, there in Zim, I had my wife and God had blessed us with 3 children. When I came here, I then fell in love with a woman who was a South African. She then gave me 1 child. So I then chose to be with my South African wife than to be with my Zimbabwean wife. But what hurts me the most right now is that I only have 1 child remaining. This child is the child that I had with my South African wife. And I am full of regrets because all of the children that I had when I was still in Zim, they all died under mysterious conditions. Your dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our dear brothers, and we had to do this translation. My apologies, because some of the confessions, they require a translation, so they take quite a long time for them to be translated. Let's meet again in the following episode.